Well, the Australian Parliamentary Labor Party has today met here at the Balmain Town Hall. Today, the Australian Parliamentary Labor Party has made more history in Balmain. Today, the Australian Parliamentary Labor Party has decided to democratise the party for the future. The party has decided also to make sure that the Prime Minister who the people elect in the future will be the Prime Minister that the people get in the future. The Australian Labor Party has been meeting in this hall for the last 120 years. In fact, the Australian Labor Party has been meeting in halls like this around Australia for the last 120 years. Today, the ALP has passed one of its most significant reforms to the party in recent history. This reform brings us into line with the sorts of models which have been embraced in the United Kingdom, Canada and the United States. These are reforms which will be welcomed by our 44,000 rank-and-file members across the nation. Each of our members now gets to have a say, a real say, in the future leadership of our party. Decisions can no longer simply be made by a factional few. But these reforms also extend beyond party lines. They go to the Australian public itself. The Australian public now have certainty. Australians demand to know that the Prime Minister they elect is the Prime Minister they get, and that is underlined by these reforms. The changes that we have passed will see the Federal Parliamentary Labor Party leader elected jointly by the party membership and the members of the FPLP on the following proportional basis. Votes by the party membership is weighted at 50%, and votes by the Federal Parliamentary Labor Party weighted also at 50%. An election for leader shall automatically occur following an election where the ALP does not form government. An election for leader can be called by the caucus secretary after any of the following events: upon the resignation of the leader, at the request of the leader, or where at least 75% of the members of the Federal Parliamentary Labor Party sign a petition requesting that an election for a new leader be held on the grounds that the current leader has brought the party into disrepute. These changes were also needed if we were to continue to be the party of ideas, reform and change, as well as the party of fearless debate. We have also, in our meeting today, accepted 3 sets of amendments moved by myself and seconded by Anthony Albanese, the Deputy Prime Minister. And that is that the rule in terms of the Leader of the Opposition, if the party does not form government, under those circumstances the Leader would be open to a future ballot if there was a petition of 60% of the members of the Federal Parliamentary Party rather than 75%, as is the case for the party when we are in government and the leader is Prime Minister. The second procedural motion that was put forward by myself and the Deputy Leader relates to the closing of the day of nominations for the election of a leader. And the third is that in the interim period between an election and such an election being held for the party leadership, the Deputy Leader or the highest ranked House of Representatives member shall act as leader for the interim. I welcome the fact that the Parliamentary Labor Party has chosen to support these procedural amendments moved by myself and the Deputy Prime Minister. Friends, for the future, this is an important set of reforms for our party. Across Australia, the great thing about the Australian Labor movement is that we are a party of the grassroots. We are at our best when we are listening to people right across the country. And we are at our best when we know that the rank and file of our membership, all 44,000 of them, know that they have an active say in the future direction of our party. This, therefore, is a good story to sell for us across the country. I believe it is the right message for the party. It is the right message also to the country at large, who have raised concerns about these matters in recent times. I repeat, under this reform, we have implemented the single greatest reform in the Parliamentary Labor Party, the Labor Party more generally in recent times, not only democratising the party, but also ensuring that the Prime Minister the Australian people vote for is the Prime Minister the Australian people then get. Of course, this is a matter for us primarily, but also of relevance to the country at large. As well as this, in recent times, we've embraced another series of important policy directions. Last Friday, we made clear through the announcement with Prime Minister Peter O'Neill from Papua New Guinea our new approach to the question of asylum seekers. The rules have changed, and that is now legitimately the subject of attention around the world, which is precisely as we want it to be, a clear-cut message to people smugglers around the world. This month we've also launched our landmark national disability reforms, Disability Care Australia, on track to benefit tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands and then millions of Australians over time, though ultimately peaking at this stage based on our projections at about 460,000. We've also extended our Better Schools negotiations under the Better Schools Plan. We've received, of course, the support now of the Government of Tasmania, the Independent Schools Association, and we're also into the conclusion of our negotiations with other sectors of the Australian education community as well. We've also acted to scrap the carbon tax, bringing forward the introduction of the emissions trading scheme, which will ease cost of living pressures for Australian families. Friends, what I would say overall to all Australians who have been engaged with what we've been doing the last 3 weeks is we've been getting our own house in order. With this major reform to the parliamentary party, I believe we have one of the most modern party structures in Australia going into the future. That's as it should be. We've also been putting our best foot forward on key areas of policy, on the future challenges to our economy and our response to it through a national competitiveness agenda, through to what we have done most recently also in relation to asylum seekers and, of course, the price on carbon. More work's to be done. We'll continue to do our best for the Australian people, but I believe this is a positive day for democracy in Australia, an historic day for the Australian Labor Party, and a great day for Australian Labor Party members across our nation.